In this tutorial, I'm going to talk about OpenERP users, emailing system, and how to configure everything right. So to manage your users, you have to go to Settings and Users. And in my case, I have two users here. I have myself as a user, and with this user, I'm logged in now here. And I have admin user. Although I am the only real person using the system, I have two users because I have admin user. And I'm doing this way because I am using one of the best practices here. And the best practice is actually to have admin user. This is your super user. It's like a root user on the Unix systems. So to have this user as a separate user, which is not any way related to any real person in the real life. And it's just because this user should be used only with high caution and high understanding of the system. And let's say if you do some basic daily tasks on the system and something goes wrong, you some way lost your user, you can always log in with the administrator user and maybe restore something that you have messed up. And also only the first user on the system, this is architectural thing on the OpenERP, so only the first user, which is admin user on the system, will have all the access rights, all the super rights that are not always described on the other users' access rights tab. So as I started speaking about the access rights, if I click on any user in the system, every user on the system has access rights. It's here. And in my case, I just clicked edit to edit this user. It's my user. So in my case, I have some access rights here, and actually I am able to see a settings menu tab, top level settings menu tab, and configure some things here just because I have this access right, administration settings. If I would select this access right, just access rights, I would be able to see this settings environment, but I would not be able to change anything here. So I can pretty change like 90% of the system, and I am unable only to change core things of the system. So as we're talking about the access rights, every application, every module that you install on the system appears to have some options for the users to have some access rights. So here I have a sales application installed, and you see that I can select for myself, I can give for myself some access rights on sales application. In this case, I am a manager in the sales module. On the human resources, I am the employee, and the sharing, I am user, and so on and so forth. And as you install more applications on your system, you will have more options here to choose from. And pretty obvious, you will have these additional checkboxes here, so you can give for any user some other access rights. So in this case, I can give for myself to be able to manage multi-companies, or can enable technical features. Then I will see some, not some, actually a lot of technical features here under the settings on the left-hand side, and and on every application I will be able to see some menu items, additional menu items, which is a technical features. And here you have some other access rights. I think you can figure out what's here by yourself. So, under the preferences of every user, actually you see the same thing here, like every user sees here. If I am logged in here now as a Simonas and I click on the preferences, I can change my language, time zone, and other things. So this is the same tab. Yeah, but you also see here the alias email address. These two emails sometimes confuses people. What is those email addresses and what are they doing? So I'm going to explain this, and now I'm switching to talk about the emails on the OpenERP. So every user has an email address, and this email address is a primary email address which is used to receive messages from the OpenERP system. And every user can select what he wants to receive from the system. So he can select never to receive anything from the system, or to receive everything which is related to him as a user. And whenever he receives something on the system, in the messaging module, for most of the time, he can forward those messages to his personal email address. But also this email address has a really serious role because it's being used for password reset. And also when you are creating a new user, this email address is being used to send invitation link to log in for the first time to the system. Here is the alias email address, and this gets created automatically, and it's created well, actually from two parts. So the first part actually is Simonas here, and it's my login. So the system takes my login, adds it here, and this dailyrp.net, it's a alias domain, and you can configure your alias domain name. So every user, when you create the user, will get his login here and your system domain alias. And the domain alias you can find under the settings, a general here, alias domain. You can change it here, you can change it to whatever you want, but actually I think you would want this to have to your company's domain name. And actually, if I go back to the user, my user, I think you should have this email box configured somewhere on the internet, and this is your company's email address for this person. So actually, email is a personal email that user can set whatever he wants, and the alias is the email that gets created automatically by joining user's login name and your company's alias domain name. Okay, if I go back and if I want to create a new user, I click create. I'm going to create a new user here. I'm going to give, I'm going to give him a login name, Paulus. He's in Vilnius too, he speaks English. And as I create a user, I have to enter here for the first time some personal email address. And actually, he is my employee. That's why I have created my company's email box for him, and I have gave him the login data to be able to log into that email box. So his email is actually Paulus at dailyerp.net. So now when I click save, the activation email link will be sent to Paulus at dailyerp.net. But before doing this, I can go to the access rights, and I can give him some access rights. So I want to give him a access right on the sales application, to have on leads only, on the sharing user, and I'm not going to give him any access rights to change system settings. Yep, and I'm going to save him now. And here we get an error actually. And what is it saying here? It says that I don't have any outgoing email server configured here. And this is what I wanted to show you. Actually, to be able to send something to the outside world, you have to have outgoing email server configured. So now I'm going to click OK, and all this thing that we have created now have to be discarded because we don't have the outgoing email server. So let's go and configure it. And email configurations lies under the settings and general settings. And I can configure here an outgoing email server. And by default, you will have localhost. This is default server, and if I test connection, it says connection test failed. And this is what's going to happen pretty all the time. And actually, you see that I don't have any buttons here to create a new outgoing server or to edit this one. And this is because as I told you, I am able to configure like 90% of the system, but some core things, which is really core things, I am unable to configure. And this access right has only the admin user, which has the super user rights. So to do this, I have to log in from my personal user, log out from my personal user, and I have to log in as a administrative super user. And once I have logged in as a super user, I can go to settings, general settings, configure outgoing email servers, and now I have create button. I can create a new outgoing server, or I can modify the existing one. Just before we modify anything here, so to send the messages, you have to have at least one outgoing mail server. And every time any user of OpenERP system, of your instance, will send something to the outside world, to the outside emails, those messages are going to be ported to this particular email server. So now it's localhost and it's not working, and we need a working one outgoing mail server. I'm going to edit this, and actually I'm going to use here Gmail account as a outgoing email server. And Gmail is actually pretty good at being outgoing email server because it's stable and you can pretty be sure that your messages will be sent anyway. Or if you have, let's say, if you have bought a hosting from some company, maybe you have some environment where you can configure email boxes. So you can use here one of the email boxes account as a outgoing server. Okay, and now I'm going to test the connection. Okay, connection test succeeded. Everything seems properly set up. And now I am able to send the messages to the outside world. Okay, so let's go back to the users and create Polus once again. Okay, once I'm done, I can click save, and a invitation link to join the system will be sent to this email address. So I hit save. An invitation email containing the following subscription link has been sent. Okay, so now we can go to this email box. Yeah, and we have here Polus have got a invitation link, and it's here, and yeah, and Polus can click on the invitation link to activate his account. And by the way, before we activate this account, I want to show something for you. I want to actually log out from the admin because it's just for the administration, as I told you. And you should be using it only when you are unable to do some tasks with your user which has a settings rights. So I want to show you how email system works now. So as I have now the outgoing email server configured, I can send, actually every user can send the messages to the outside world just from this environment. I can compose a new message from my messaging module, or I can click here on this tiny little link and compose the message. So let's send some message to. It's my secondary email address. Yep. Subject, this is a test. Let's see. And I'm going to send the message. Okay, it's working. And if I go now to my account, and this is the email box that I have sent to. Yeah, I have got this message in, and if I want to watch the message, I see that this message has been sent from dailyRP@gmail.com. It's our outgoing email server, email account. But the interesting part is that I can reply to simonas@dailyrp.net, and this is my user's alias domain, which I talked about earlier. So every time any user sends some message to any email address outside the OpenERP instance, the message gets ported through the outgoing email server, email account, and it has the alias email address which is that particular user's email address. And if I click reply now to this message, you see that I will reply to this email address. So it means that this email box should be configured for every user who uses OpenERP, so you don't lost any emails, because if your users send something to your client and he actually doesn't have such an email address, email box, access to email box like this one, this email, your client will answer to this email, and this message will be lost forever. So you should, configure email boxes the same as you configure your users. So let's get back to the creation of the users. And you remember I have created a Polus user previously. Let's look again here. It's Polus. And if I click on the Polus, it has a status, and it says that Polus have never connected yet. And we have here a activation link that we have got from the OpenERP instance. It's Polus at dailyrp.net inbox. So I'm going to log out now from the system, because I'm going to be a Polus now, and I'm going to accept the invitation to join the dailyrp UB. Yes, and the system prompts a user to create a password. So let's create one. And Polus has been successfully signed up for the first time, and he can change his preferences here as well. And actually, the interesting thing is that you can configure that some of the users or every users can receive the messages that are coming to the alias email address to be get ported to the inbox here on the messaging. So actually, Polus has email address here, polus@dailyrp.net. It is his personal email address, and every notifications which comes to his inbox here in the OpenERP instance will be ported to this email address. But what if we want that? Let's say if Polus composes the message and sends this message to somebody, he wants to get responded to OpenERP instance, and this is actually possible to have all the messages coming to dailyrp instance to some particular account. And now I'm going to show you how to do this. So to be able to manage something here, I have to switch to the other user who has the rights to manage the system, and Polus doesn't have it because we haven't gave him the rights to manage the system. So I'm going to log out now again, and I'm going to log in as myself. I'm going to go to settings, users, and have here Polus. And you see that these two email addresses are the same. And it's actually sometimes can be really dangerous, but I'm going to talk about this a little bit later. No, I'm going to talk about this now. It can be dangerous because if we configure we are going to configure actually now to so that Polus @dailyRP.net, all the messages that are coming to this email address will be ported to Paulus' account on the OpenERP. And if Paulus have set this option to receive incoming emails and discussions to his personal email address, and those two email addresses are the same, Paulus are going to get to the infinite loop, because the message will come to his OpenERP account, and then this message will be ported to the email address paulus@dailyrp.net. And once the message gets ported to this email, actually OpenERP fetches messages from his inbox from here and displays those messages back to the OpenERP account. And OpenERP understands that he have got a new message, and again OpenERP sends the message back to this email address, and you have the infinite loop. So this is why if you have those two addresses the same, you should always select not to receive anything from the system, because you are going to get into the infinite loop. So remember this, it's kind of important. Okay, and now we are going to configure so that Paulus, so that all the messages which are coming to this email account, paulus@dailyrp.net, are going to be fetched to his OpenERP account. So to do this, you should go to okay, it's asking me, do I want to save? Yes, I don't want to leave the page. I want to save now everything. So yeah, we have changed that he will never receive anything. So to configure incoming email servers, you have to go to settings, then general settings, and then here you have configure incoming email gateway. And at the moment we don't have any of the gateways here, so we are going to create one. It's going to, let's give the name Paulus inbox, and it's the system will use the POP server, and I'm using here a Microsoft Hotmail as my email boxes provider. So the server name for Hotmail is pop3live.com, and they have to do this. Yep. And what is worth of mentioning is that Paulus is unable to create this. So only the user who has administrative rights can create these settings. So once you create a user, you should decide, do you want this user to getting the email messages to his account or not. So if you want this user Paulus to get all the messages from this email box to his OpenERP instance, you should configure this. And we have entered everything here. Let's test and confirm. Okay, everything seems fine. The count is confirmed. I can click save now. And I can click fetch now to fetch all the existing messages on his email address now, on his inbox. So let's do this. Yep, it's fetched now, I think, and now when somebody sends a message to paulus@dailyerp.net, he will get this message to his OpenERP account. So let's make a simple test. Let's compose a message. I will compose this message from this email to paulus@dailyerp.net. Send the message. Yep. So as soon as OpenERP fetches the messages from the paulus@dailyerp.net account, all those messages comes here. So I am logged in now as the Paulus, and here you see that Paulus have got the invitation to join the OpenERP. DailyERP, actually our company. So this was earlier, and after that we have sent the message from Simonas at Manties LT to Paulus, and he have got this message here in his inbox. So this is pretty much all for this video, and I hope this was useful for you, and see you on the next tutorials.